everyone. I want to talk to you tonight about conversations that we have in our head. So let me ask you this. Have you ever walked away from a conversation and within minutes, your brain starts replaying it and you start wondering, did I say too much? Did they seem annoyed? Why did they pause like that before answering? And before you know it, the entire interaction's running a loop in your mind. If this sounds familiar, you're not just overthinking. Your brain is actually trying to solve a safety question inside the relationship. So today, I want to take some time to show you what's happening and why it actually makes a lot of sense. So many people assume that this might mean something's wrong with them. And let me assure you that there's not. But they might think, you know what? Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe they've been told I'm too sensitive. I just read into everything. I wish I could just let things go. But here's the truth. When most people overthink conversations, it doesn't mean that you're over dramatic. You're not trying to be dramatic. It's actually your brain trying to answer one very important question, and that's this. Am I still okay with this person? Because when connection feels a little bit uncertain, your mind starts scanning for clues. Now, let me give you an example of what this might look like. So let's imagine you send someone a message and maybe you shared something personal, or maybe you asked them a question. And then hours go by and you don't get a response. And suddenly your mind starts doing some math. And it's like, well, maybe they were busy. That sounds reasonable, but they usually respond faster. Did I say something really weird? Or maybe they're pulling away. And the questions and the thinking can just kind of go downhill from there. And then when the message finally comes in, you feel your body immediately relax. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm so relieved. It's like that wave of relief washes right over you. But nothing about the message itself changed your worth or your safety. But your nervous system did feel reassured. So if you've experienced that moment of relief when a text finally arrives, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, here's the thing. Humans were wired for connection. Our creator, God, created us this way. So we're supposed to connect. And our brain, what it's doing is constantly reading relationships for signals like, are we okay? Are they upset with me? Am I still accepted here? And when relationships feel very predictable and secure, your brain doesn't have to work very hard. It's relaxed. It's like, okay, I'll go with the flow. But when relationships feel more uncertain or inconsistent or hard to read, your brain adapts, and what it becomes is a detective. It starts sleuthing around and it starts analyzing things like the voice tone, different facial expressions, pauses in conversations, changes in behavior. And again, it's not you being dramatic. It's because your brain is trying to protect connection. Let me give you another example. You might recognize this. So you're talking to someone and the conversation seems absolutely normal. But later that night, you get home and something pops into your mind. And you remember the moment that they said, yeah, that was interesting. And then suddenly your brain goes, well, wait a minute. Was that sarcasm when they said that? And then the replay starts. You think about their tone, their facial expression, the pause before they answered, and your mind is trying to reconstruct the entire interaction. Not because you're overthinking, because your brain is trying to figure out, did anything change between us? Did something change? Is something wrong? Now, most of the time, these types of patterns don't start in our current relationships. It would have started much earlier. If love or approval once felt unpredictable for you, if people's emotions were hard to read, maybe in your family of origin, if conflict sometimes led to distance or withdrawal, if this is what was modeled for you, maybe while you were growing up, your nervous system learned something very, very important. I need to pay close attention to keep my connection safe. I'm depending on these people. And so I have to do whatever it takes to stay safe and connected. So your brain gets really good at monitoring relationships. And what happens is you become highly aware of subtle emotional shifts. We can call this like hypervigilance. You're always looking, you're always tracking. And the reason is because this awareness once helped you stay connected and survive. But now it can show up as constant mental analysis. And can we just be real? This can be exhausting, right? Now, let's look at another maybe common example, okay? You're talking with someone and you decide to open up a little bit. You're going to put your toe in that vulnerability space, so to speak, right? And maybe you shared something personal with them, or maybe you expressed an opinion. At the time, it felt fine. You felt empowered, you felt good about it. But later, what happens? Your brain starts questioning it. And it starts thinking, well, why did I say that? Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Was what I said too much? Oh my gosh, what if they think differently about me now? I actually expressed opinion and it wasn't just like theirs. And suddenly a conversation, a normal conversation that lasted 5 minutes, is now taking up space in your mind for hours. It's all got all sorts of real estate up in your brain. And again, it's not your brain that's trying to torture you. It's trying to answer a safety question. Did I just risk connection with this person? But here's the reframe that I want you to hear for this. Overthinking conversations is not a character flaw, not at all. It is a strategy that your nervous system learned when connection once felt uncertain. And a lot of times this starts in our family of origin when we're little. And so we pick up on these certain cues based on what's modeled for us or what's not modeled for us. And our brain believes that if we analyze enough information, it's going to prevent rejection or distance or abandonment or whatever it is. But the problem is this: analysis doesn't actually create safety. It just creates more mental loops. And can we be honest? A lot of times these mental loops can wake us up at 3 o'clock in the morning and then we don't sleep very well. Has anyone experienced that? So instead of asking ourselves, okay, what did they mean by that? We want to try a different question. Let's see if we can change things up a little bit, right? And this is a habit that we've learned, to be kind of hyper vigilant and ask all these questions. So switching to ask a different question is something we're going to have to be really intentional about, and we might forget, but we'll get there. It takes practice, okay? But what we want to do is try asking a different question. Like, why does my nervous system feel so uncertain right now? And actually sit with your physical feelings. So 2 parts to this, right? The emotional feeling, like the label that we give it, but actually the physical feeling too. Like when we start asking those questions, I notice, my body is feeling a certain way, right? Like maybe my chest has heated up, or maybe my stomach feels a little swirly. And, at first you might not even, it might be difficult to recognize this stuff because you're not used to doing it. And that's absolutely normal. And it's okay. It takes practice. But with intention, we start saying, well, gosh, what is my body feeling right now? Am I, are my shoulders like hunched up? How's my breathing? And just pay attention. And then with that, we want to start putting some feeling words with it. Like, okay, am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling angry? And so we want to start noticing and start asking these questions instead of, do they still like me? Did I say the wrong thing? We want to get a new set of questions that we start asking. And this curiosity, if we will implement this, is where real change starts. So if you recognize this pattern, you're not overly sensitive or needy. I think I heard most of my life how overly sensitive I was. And I just want you to know that's not the case. You're responding exactly the way you were wired and the way you were created to be. It's just sometimes these responses and these patterns, these ways that we deal with things, they need a system update, right? They need a newer version, a healthier version. That's all. And so our system's doing what it's supposed to do. And the good news is we can actually change these patterns, because when your nervous system learns what secure connection actually feels like, the need to analyze every little thing and be so hyper vigilant, it's actually going to start to fade, and you can feel more relaxed and you can feel more present with the people that you're in conversation with. And inside my class, we go much deeper into how these patterns form, how they begin, and the actual retraining of the nervous system, like how we can rewire these neural pathways that we've developed over the years, because they can be rewired, I promise you. Because connection isn't meant to feel like a puzzle, and it's not meant to feel like like a puzzle you're constantly trying to solve, right? It's meant to feel safe. And if that's something that you would like to know more about, leave a comment in the chat or message me, and I'd be glad to talk to you about it. Hope you enjoyed this one.